the team we wanted to really see in the playoffs because of who they've been the last few years is the Kansas City Chiefs. And, for a little while, you're like, whoa, what's going on here? 7-0. They're down, and then they just explode, right? 5 consecutive touchdowns. They score 3 touchdowns in the last 3 minutes of the first half. We're going to go to our next guest, who was a part of those teams, played for Andy Reid, was an all-pro tackle, Super Bowl champion, brother to my co-worker there at SiriusXM Radio on the Pac-12, Mr. Jeff Schwartz. So welcome to the show, Mitchell Schwartz. What's up, Mitch? How we doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on.
You bet, man. I told everybody to kind of tamper their expectations a little bit because the Chiefs were playing the Steelers, right? It wasn't a team that I think a lot of people thought would give them a lot of trouble. What was your biggest takeaway from their performance, and what do you expect this week?
So weirdly enough, my biggest takeaway was a little bit of worry because if we see that first quarter and a half where you have 5 drives, 2 turnovers, one of them leading to points for the other team against this Buffalo team, you could be down 3 touchdowns pretty quickly. So I think that inconsistency that we've seen throughout the season is still there a little bit, but the optimism of, as you said, those 5 or 6 touchdown drives in a row, looking like the Chiefs of old, I know that's got Chiefs Kingdom pretty excited. So hopefully they're able to, ride that into this game and start fast. And I think, for them, the whole season, it's been kind of the self-inflicted stuff. So false starts, holdings, drop passes, kind of weird things happening where they're leading to turnovers or bad drives. And so if they're able to get a grip on that, this is a team and an offense especially that is very tough to stop.
You spent majority of your time there in Kansas City. In fact, some of the most successful, right, with the Super Bowl victory in Miami. And you've seen firsthand how Andy Reid, Eric Bieniemy, how they game plan, how they prepare. What do you think they're reiterating in those meetings, in practice sessions and walkthroughs, everything that they have to get right this week, and an understanding that Buffalo's going to come with everything they've got?
Yeah, it's a lot of accountability, and Eric Bieniemy is awesome with holding everyone accountable, making sure they're doing their part because, if you're doing your thing, especially as an offensive lineman, that means Pat can do his. That means, Clyde or, Jarek now at running back, they can do their thing. And so having that accountability and responsibility to your teammates to do the right thing is huge. And if you're a receiver, you've got the responsibility to catch the ball, to, not make sure that it gets tipped into the air, someone can pick it. And so, EB is big on all that accountability and holding guys to their responsibility. And I think the biggest thing is just getting back to practice itself and making sure you're practicing fast, practicing crisp. Coach Reid does not like when the ball's on the ground in practice because that means usually something went wrong, whether it's an incompletion or a fumble especially. So going through the week of practice, making sure you got the right attitude, the right effort, and then not having the ball on the ground is, I'm sure you heard that throughout your career too, but that's one of the indicators that coaches look at to see how crisp practice is.
We're talking to Mitchell Schwartz, former All-Pro offensive tackle for the Kansas City Chiefs, Super Bowl champion, and Palisades high school graduate. I think you were a Dolphin, weren't you?
I was, yeah.
Yeah, look at that. All right. Playing in Arrowhead, okay? Now, I have a different experience playing in Arrowhead with all my years with the Chargers and having to go there and how difficult a place it is. Tell us how important home field advantage is, the fact that Patrick Mahomes has yet to have to go on the road to play a playoff game, how big a deal it is to be home in front of those fans in that stadium.
Well, it's a big deal for a couple of reasons. As you're alluding to, for the opposing offense, it's just incredibly difficult to have a clean operation because, Steve Spagnuolo's defense, he's got all these blitz schemes and lining up guys in different spots, and he's playing 3 or 4 safeties and be interchangeable. And so, Josh Allen's going to get up to the line of scrimmage. He's going to be trying to figure out who's blitzing, and he's going to have to, run up to the line of scrimmage, basically run up to both tackles, tell them the protection call, and get that done. And you're wasting precious seconds, and it makes it more difficult. Things are a little bit more strained, and it just makes the operation a little bit more challenging. And then, offensively, we get a boost from, our defense has a great drive. It's a turnout. They're excited. We get a nice punt return. We feel that energy on offense as we take the field. And so it's more than just, affecting the other team's offense. It's this energy, this excitement level And it's really special. One of my favorite moments from a couple of years ago from the Super Bowl run was actually after the AFC Championship game that we won. In a weird way, I felt like that one was a little bit more special than post-game of the Super Bowl because it was at Arrowhead. It was all our fans. It was all the people that have been cheering us on for forever. More like an intimate setting and getting to share that moment with them. So it is a really cool bond between, player and fan. And as you said and well attested, it's a pretty tough place to play for an opposing quarterback.
Yeah, it's extremely difficult. You've talked about that noise factor and what it's going to be for Josh Allen. Now, all three teams left in the AFC outside of the Chiefs have all beat the Chiefs this year. And it's the playoffs. I don't put a lot of weight into that, but all three of these teams have and know what it's like to beat this team, regardless of whether it was early in the season. Cincinnati beat them late in the season when the Chiefs definitely needed to win. So what does that have going into this game in terms of confidence for one team or lack of confidence in another, or is it just a wash? It's playoff time. You throw out the records and let's go.
It's a little bit of both. I do think there is a mental component to knowing that you've stood toe-to-toe and beat that team. And so you look at the Cincinnati game, that was the most recent, so you can say those teams are probably the most similar to where they currently are right now. The Buffalo game was week 4 or 5. The Chiefs are missing a bunch of guys. And they didn't have Melvin Ingram at the time. He was on Pittsburgh. And so you're looking at it and you're saying, well, it's not quite the same matchup, but Buffalo's coming to town. They're not afraid. They're thinking, all right, we already beat them before. We can do it again. We just came off a great game. And so it is strange to be the only team left who hasn't beaten any of the other three teams during that season. And I do think there is that little mental component. And so it's something that makes it as well-rounded of, a 4 teams that we've seen in the AFC playoffs in a long time.
We go to these offensive and defensive coordinators and the scheme, right? That's a big word that's used in every broadcast and report, the scheme that this defensive coordinator brings or this offensive coordinator brings to the table. Steve Spagnuolo brings a blitzing, pressure, fueled kind of defense. Now, in their last loss at Cincinnati, in a game where Joe Burrow was just begging for one-on-one matchups with the likes of Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, Steve Spagnuolo kept giving it to him and kept getting burnt. Do you think there was a time in the week leading up to that Denver game, the final game of the year, where Andy Reid, pulled his defensive coordinator aside and said, "Hey, your ego has to be removed from this. We have to do what's best for this team, and scheme is one thing. Winning the football game is what is most important."
I feel like they have those conversations during the week, and I feel like they come out of it trusting each other, and so they go into the game with a game plan and knowing, hey, if we're in this situation, we're going to call that. I think Coach Reed's on the headset, so he can know the play call that Spags is thrown in, and so if he gets that cover 0 call and it's really the wrong one, I'm sure there's a line of communication to possibly overrule it. But I would say that aggressive attacking mentality is what has led to success for the defense, and so it's buying into, we're going to put it out there, and you guys got to beat us one-on-one, but we think we can get home. We think we can beat you one-on-one. And so there's probably a little bit of that, hey, this is just not the right situation for it. But as Spags described a couple days after, he was trying to push since he had a field goal range. They're right on the edge of, I think it was the 40 or the 45. And it's 3rd and 27, but he's almost playing that like a 4th and 5 because he doesn't want them to throw a quick slant and get into field goal range and be able to kick it. So I think that on the whole, we've seen Coach Reed has brought in Spags a couple times throughout his career to be his coordinator. Clearly, he trusts, and Coach Reed has definitely got that attacking mentality as well. We see that on offense, and so I think it complements the other side very well. And I think they both see the game in the same way, that if you're not attacking, that's when things happen. And there are smarter play calls to be had in certain situations, but I think on the whole, that mentality is going to be a positive for them. Yeah,
I agree. That's Mitchell Schwartz, everybody, all-pro tackle for the Kansas City Chiefs. Super Bowl champion. Thanks for taking some time with us today, man. Looking forward to this football game.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's going to be a good one.
All right, everybody. Mitchell Schwartz.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.